Today we're diving into the biggest myths surrounding weighted calisthenics and static skills. Are these myths true? Let's find out.
My name is Baki. I'm a professional streetlifting athlete. My background is skills, certain reps, and now mainly streetlifting. I like to combine both, so let's talk about it.
My name is Simon and I'm a professional freestyle athlete. I've been training this sport for about 6 years. Throughout my whole career, I've been implementing some street lifting elements as well. And there are a few reasons to it. Even though I'm a static and freestyle athlete, I do see some benefits from adding weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, and those type of skills into my workouts. So let's see if we have some similarities between our sports.
Myth number 1. You can't effectively train statics and weighted calisthenics at the same time.
In my opinion, you can, but I think you gotta choose which is your priority. Like, it's a bit give and take. You can achieve a high level in both, but then again, you gotta know that maybe not the world champion in both, but you can definitely like achieve a high level in both, training both.
Yeah, you will be able to achieve a very high level, but you will need to have a nice progression and to not put the same program at the same level. You have just to be sure to not overshoot all your training and to emphasize some and put the rest maybe a bit more lower. I don't know about you, but I know that you are still doing some street lifting. You're still putting calisthenics, I mean freestyle and statics above, but you're using street lifting as an accessories.
As a complement. Yeah, exactly. And I think also it depends on if you want to get the broader street lifting side. If we would have competed in squats, I would be pretty cooked, because that side is something that it wouldn't contribute as much to my statics if I would add more squats, for example. Some core stability, but it's to a certain degree. Then when you get above that level and you start gaining more mass, I think that's going to be more of a downside for my statics game. So you will definitely get some solid stuff for the street lifting, but if I were to compete, I would be cooked, like, because I don't even have close to the level of squats that I would need.
Yeah, it's pretty the same for me. For example, I like to implement some front lever or some planche, and I think it's helped me for the dips, for the push part, but I will never go for the FSTO or stuff like that because it will not deserve my and help my training.
Myth number 2. Weighted calisthenics requires explosive strength, while static training only requires isometric strength, so they don't mix.
I think that is more of a truth. Me combining weighted dips has given me a lot of strength for like planche push-ups, handstand push-ups, but not necessarily increasing my holds a lot. Like, I get really strong in the dynamic sides of things, let's say the explosive part, but then for the actual hold, I need to be in that position a bit more.
What do you want to achieve when you do the static? To stay
static.
But depends again what is your style, because I know some static guy like to be very explosive as well. So maybe they will change a bit the setup and put a bit of bands to be more light, or to train the explosiveness of some movements, but it's not the main focus, I would say. So
I think they contribute, but not fully.
Not fully.
You gotta know that, for example, if you only train street lifting side of things, like the dips and the pull-ups, you still need to do some more static holds, progressions to then get the front lever and stuff. It's not just gonna directly contribute.
No, for sure, no.
And the explosiveness is definitely something that is your reps, like front lever pull-ups, your planche push-ups, they are more simulating the actual pull-ups and dips than the actual holds, since it's a static combined to a dynamic thing.
Myth number 3. Your front lever gets stronger if you train a lot of weighted pull-ups.
No, this is not, for my part, I would say you don't have a big correlation between the two. The same for every sport. If you want to be good at something, you have to do these things. Sometimes you will have some transfer between, but I would say I become very stronger in front lever pull-ups by doing front lever pull-ups.
It's
not because I was better in weighted pull-ups that I become better in front lever pull-ups.
But you think the weighted pull-ups helped you, or that it's like
I really don't think
nothing?
So. I really don't think so. I know a bunch of people that are able to do, for example, 90 kg chin-ups, pull-ups, and they can't even hold 1 or 2 seconds in front lever. So it's really specific.
I think it really depends. Like, it's not gonna give you that much strength, but I think there are a few parts in the front lever that will get stronger from the weighted pull-ups. The leverage isn't gonna be crazy, but one thing I've noticed a lot for the weighted stuff is retraction. Like, if you get really the full range, not doing like the half rep stuff, but the full range, this retraction strength can then help a lot for the retraction in front lever. But then you still have a lot of other factors, of course, but in my opinion, that's the thing that actually helps. Then just getting super solid hold, you need way more, so the weight is things is good complement for that specific part, but not necessarily the only thing you can do to achieve it.
Myth number 4. You can't build muscles with static holds, only strength and endurance.
You have just to look at gymnasts,
Yeah.
people, and I think you can answer the question.
Yeah.
This is the big myth.
And look at almost, like, of course now you do a lot of street lifting, but me personally, like, my main focus has always been statics. It also depends on the rep range. Like if you have a longer statics, if we only talk about holds, of course if you increase your time and attention there as well, and not only training just a few seconds, I still believe like you do build a good physique, if that's what people want to know.
Yeah.
Of course, if you really want to focus on the physique, you want to add some more reps, like weighted calisthenics and stuff, it's the sweet spot, but statics will still give you significant results.
Myth number 5. Every street lifter should implement statics in their training to be complete.
So, so this is more like a point of view than something true or not true. I will say, for me, for my part, it helps for sure. It helps me. Isometric works is underrated, but I don't think they need it, but it can be a nice tool to have in your pocket to help you.
And I think it's a personal choice.
Exactly.
And for motivation probably as well. It's the same way that you would incorporate statics as I would incorporate rep.
Yeah.
Like for me, only doing statics, it's fun to some degree as well, but then having another part of the sport as well, it makes it more fun, because all of a sudden you're progressing within skills, which is really nice, but you're also getting, like, you're putting more and more weights, which is really nice in its own as well. Like it's another part. And I think those two combined, it keeps the motivation higher as well.
Yeah, and if I have to choose, I will say it's really nice to have a nice core and can help you if you have some struggle on this part, but yeah, you don't really need it, but it looks very cool, so.
Myth number 6. Statics put more stress onto the joints than weighted calisthenics. Doing both at the same time is too much for the joints.
Again, it depends your program and how you manage the loads. It's the same with everything. This can be true if you overtrain.
Yeah.
But if you do the things on the right path and you take your recovery when it's needed and you emphasize maybe more the street lifting or more the statics and you don't overtrain the rest, you can do the both without having more pain than usually.
I think statics in general, like you're in a more dangerous zone. It depends on the progression you're moving towards, but there are positions that are worse. Like street lifting is a bit more dynamic and you have more freedom. But for example, if you're doing the planche, you're in a really open position and it's hard to bail. Whereas most often when it comes to the weighted stuff, you have to some degree better control. Like you can always let go. I feel like it's different.
Don't let go with a huge dip.
That's true.
But
that is true.
I know what you mean. Like for example, like with Maltese, it's a bit more tricky than a pull-ups. But let's say if you have like 150 or 160 on the belt for the dips,
that's harsh.
Yeah.
And at that point, like the technique is always going to play a major role, which is hard for like the 1 rep max. It's going to be almost impossible to have the perfect technique on the 1 rep max, but then again, you probably shouldn't do 1 rep max that often. And when you're training, focusing on the form, it's going to allow you to push harder without putting your body at risk, including the joints then.
I agree.
Myths number 7. Weighted calisthenics will make you too heavy to be able to do statics.
That's true and not true at the same time. We are living in Earth, so we know that gravity has a big part of it, so it is what it is. You know, if you're heavier, it will be more difficult, for sure, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it also depends on which level you want to reach.
Yeah, as well.
Because being heavy, like you can reach a significant level, and then for like the top level, you do need to form your body to look a certain way. That's why all athletes at the top, their bodies will look sort of similar.
Yeah, they will
like
train legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Optimize everything.
Optimize, try to get your center of mass as close up as possible, having muscles in the right spots as well. In general, you don't see too many calisthenics athletes with massive chest. Like it's not the main thing that's used. You will see more like shoulder work and like the lats always gonna be like a turtle. The same is for like this street lifting. Is I think only the legs is the thing that is really like downside for the calisthenics, like the statics things, like if you get too heavy legs. But then again, as we mentioned before, the weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, those things then actually contribute.
Myth number 8. Weighted calisthenics is more useful for beginners while statics is only for advanced athletes.
No, that's not true, because again, as we said, it's all about managing the load and the progression. So just have to start and to be sure to be at the right level with the right progression and the right exercise. So both can be trained the same manners. You just have to be consistent and always say that smart with your progression.
Yeah, I think like that is the truth. And then the reality, however, let me know what you think on it, but street lifting, since we're doing weights, it's easier to see like a clear progress, and I think that's why people can stick to it. Whereas calisthenics, it's you're sticking with the same progression for a really long time before jumping to the next one, and a lot of people drop on the way because like they don't see clear results. You don't get the same pump, you don't get the clear like linear results. It's more like these stages, and if you can't outlast that period, you won't see the results.
I mean, I think for beginner is a bit different because first of all, for them to be able to do like weighted one, they will first have to do the basic and like to do the pull-ups and stuff. So they will see like a nice progression, but it's the same for the, I think for me, for the static. At first you will not be able to do your protraction, the retraction correctly, and then you will increase just these little details. So you will not really be able to do the full movement, but you will see some nice result doing, for example, a handstand against the wall, then just put one leg in the air, so you can still see some very little details. But yeah, it takes way longer. I can give you this credit for statics than for weighted calisthenics. Again, depends also
the level.
Yeah,
but that's true, because that's the thing also, like with calisthenics or with the static part, like there is a lot of things you can do, but as a beginner, when you don't know how much you can do, it may seem like it's a pretty boring path. As I think also that's where the sport like we need to educate people, especially at the early stage, for them to see the full potential, because as you mentioned, like there's just tons of way to measure progress. But if people only compare like a progression to another one and not necessarily, oh, but I increased my holding time twice, or my form has improved, or I got way better protraction. If they don't know that that is actually a big progress, then for them it might just be a flat period of no progress.
So yeah, that's the main thing.
Myth number 9. Workout plans for statics are way easier to program. Street lifting is more complex with peaking, tapering, deload, etc.
So I think it will be difficult for me to speak about this because I never go into a static preparation for a competition, and I think maybe you can talk about that because you do the competition in street lifting. But I know that it's pretty difficult, of course, because you have like some date, so you have to be in shape for this specific day and competition. But I can't compare personally because I never did it, so I don't know.
Same, like I know a lot of like the way I at least structure, and what I usually recommend is always, when it comes to structuring your training plan, and it doesn't matter if it's competition, but always know like what's your main goal, and usually this involves a skill, like is it planche, is it another pulling move, is it Victorian, and in that case start your first part of your workouts with that skill training, and usually like high time and attention, and then towards the end of the session we can reduce actually the sort of pressure on the nerve system, like do easier variation, target muscles that are involved in that skill, and that sort of brings the overall structure of how all workouts are. Then it just depends on what skill you're training for. I've never trained only for street lifting, so I wouldn't know really how I would structure there, but I know that statics, it is a bit complex, because a common thing that I personally get asked by people is, how do I structure my training? I also think it's a place where it's so much like, in theory, you could just structure training in so many ways. It's crazy. I think they are both really hard in its own, but when you then figure it out, the solution is pretty simple. It's not like super like rocket science, but you just gotta know the right thing.
Myth number 10. Static skills are purely upper body focused, so they don't require lower body engagement or strength as in street lifting.
So this is true and not true. You still need to be able to contract and have a tight lower body, but of course it's not as much as street lifting, so I don't think you need that much, and that's why people in statics that want to be very elite level will not focus on legs. So that's true, but they still need to be able to control it at least a bit.
Definitely. And that's why also I don't train that much legs now, but when I do train, I train for pure strength. I rarely train for muscle mass, because for me volume and also like getting just heavier is like far away from the goal. Like that's not what you want, but having that strength, control, still connection with the legs is really important, especially for knowing like where you have the legs is one thing. A lot correlated with the core strength and your glutes, but then also knowing that your legs are straight, because you're giving really like 100% power when you're doing static holds. And at that point, you unconsciously need to know that your legs are straight, because if you're bending your knees or doing things like that in competition, it's gonna reduce the points, and you need to have that connection with the legs. Also getting really used to knowing where they are and have that control. Same thing in freestyle as well. It's a lot about connection, not necessarily strength involved, but you need to connect them. So you need to like at least activate them during the days.
Yeah.
To sum it up, I think we're pretty equal with our opinions, that there are a lot of similarities, and your sport or your street lifting will contribute to statics, and statics will contribute to street lifting as well. But then again, you gotta know that they are two different sports. So if you really want to take one really serious, you do gotta dedicate more time towards that one. Then of course contribute, like take some from the sport, from the other one, and that will help you. And sometimes you might just do it because you enjoy it as well. Enjoying the journey is a big part of doing it for a long time and getting really good at it.
Thanks for joining us. I hope we clear out some myths about calisthenics weighted and statics. Don't forget to put a thumbs up if you liked the video. It was really nice to discuss with you, Simon.
Thank
Pleasure.
you, likewise. And if you enjoyed our discussion, we will have some more talks on our personal channels, so make sure to check them out and get some further information regarding statics, but also street lifting and the mix of both worlds. I will see you in the next one. Choo-choo.